Welcome back, everyone. Today we're doing a deep dive into the world of credit cards.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they're like everywhere, right?
Right.
But get this. Did you know they're one of the most profitable things that banks offer?
I mean, I knew they made money,
Right.
but most profitable, huh?
Yeah, so today we're going to figure out just how that happens, and we'll compare them to debit cards too, see how they stack up.
Makes sense, yeah.
We've got some articles and even an audio story about a family in India.
Wow.
Really powerful stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. We use these cards every day,
I
but
know.
most of us have no clue how they really work,
Mhm.
Or like how they affect us financially, really.
It's true. It makes you think, huh? Especially
Yeah.
when you hear stories like the one from our audio source.
Yeah.
It's about this family in Delhi, a consultant, 35 years old, his wife, and their little girl. She was only 2.
Oh.
The guy, he was drowning in credit card debt,
Mm.
close to 10 grand, and the banks were just hounding him.
Ugh. I can only imagine that feeling. It's like you're trapped.
Totally.
Sadly, it didn't end well.
No.
On July 23rd, 2019, he took his daughter up to the roof of their building and, well,
Oh, gosh.
he jumped, took his own life and hers too.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, and his wife, she saw the whole thing, and then she followed right after him.
That is just heartbreaking.
It is.
A real reminder that debt, it can have serious consequences.
For sure.
It's a fear we all have, right? Feeling overwhelmed, like you're losing control.
Definitely.
This story, it just makes it so real. Like we really got to understand these financial products, how they work, what the risks are.
100%.
So let's shift gears a bit, talk basics.
Okay.
Credit card versus debit card, what's the difference? The audio source actually explains it pretty well.
So at the core of it, it's about where the money comes from.
Okay.
With credit, you're borrowing, right? Got to pay it
Mhm.
back later, even if you don't have the cash right now.
Right.
Debit, that's your own money, only what you've got in the account.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So then why are credit cards the bank's favorite? Like their golden goose?
Well, the audio source, it says it's all about how they're set up.
Okay.
They make money through fees, different kinds, but the big one,
Yeah.
interest.
On unpaid balances.
Exactly. That's where the real profit is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And this whole profit thing, it can lead to some shady stuff. Like, remember the Wells Fargo scandal back in 2016?
Oh, yeah, that was a big one.
Huge. Employees opening millions of accounts, credit cards too,
Uh,
all without people's permission,
wow.
just to hit their sales goals, boost those profits.
Crazy, pushing products people don't even need without them knowing.
I know.
Classic example of cross-selling.
Cross-selling.
Yeah. They get these incentives to sell. Doesn't matter if the customer needs it or not.
Wow. Okay, so let's break this down like step by step.
Sure.
How does using a credit card even work? I'm kind of curious about the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Yeah. All right. So say you buy something like a new pair of shoes with your credit card.
Okay.
There's this whole chain reaction. Your bank, the store's bank, payment processors, everyone's involved.
Huh.
The audio source talked about these interchange fees, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
That's money the stores pay to banks and those processors for each transaction.
So the stores are the ones paying the price.
Not really. I mean, they pay those fees, but the real money for the banks comes from us, the cardholders, interest and fees. That's where they get you.
Ah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about these fees. There's a whole bunch, right?
Oh, yeah, tons. Annual fees, late fees, balance transfer, cash advance.
Jeez.
You name it. It's like a minefield out there.
It's almost like they're trying to hide the real cost,
Right.
setting a trap.
Well, they definitely make it so you don't feel the pain of paying right away those charges. They come later when you least expect it.
And then there's the interest rates, right? Start low, suck you in, then bam, higher rate later on.
Oh, yeah, those teaser rates.
Total bait and switch.
They know how we think,
Yeah.
Focus on the now, not the later.
Right.
Short-sightedness, they call it, fancy term.
Makes sense.
Like you want that new phone, right? Low rate makes it feel possible.
Totally.
That higher rate later.
Yeah.
Yeah, who cares? It's ages away.
Yeah, you're not thinking about it.
Exactly. So you spend, build up that balance,
And then you're stuck.
struggling to keep up with the payments.
The worst.
And then there's this thing, the audio source called it the minimum payment trap.
Minimum payment
You
rate.
see that tiny amount due, think,
Yeah.
oh, I'm good managing this.
Right.
But what you don't realize, paying just the minimum
Yeah.
keeps you in debt longer.
So the banks get more interest.
Bingo, it's a vicious cycle.
Man, it's like they're playing chess and we're playing checkers.
Seriously, and there's another thing, optimism bias, they call it.
Optimism bias.
We think we'll pay it off fast, I'll get a raise, I'll cut back next month.
We all tell ourselves that.
But life happens, right?
Yeah.
Things don't always go as planned.
Never do.
So those tiny payments, they're tricky.
They give you a false sense of security, huh?
Exactly. Hide the true cost of all that debt.
Makes sense.
You know, there's this study by these guys, Drazen Prelec and Duncan Semester. They looked at why we overspend with credit cards.
Interesting.
They found that using a card, it actually reduces the pain of paying.
Like compared to cash?
Yeah, with cash, you hand over physical bills, you feel it more.
Right, you see it leaving your wallet.
With a card, it's just a swipe, poof, gone. The consequences feel further away.
It's like it's not even real money, you know?
Exactly. They even said, leave those cards at home, stop the impulse buys.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yep. So where does all this leave us?
Right, good question. What should people take away from this?
I'd say awareness, be mindful, understand the true cost of these cards.
The fees, the interest, the whole psychology of it.
All of it. Then you can make smarter choices.
Don't let them use you. Use them.
Exactly. So what's the alternative? Ditch the plastic, go back to cash.
Well, some people do that.
Not necessarily. I mean, credit cards have perks. Fraud protection, building credit history.
Right, that's important for loans, apartments, all that.
But there's a middle ground. Debit cards.
Yeah, we talked about the difference, but why are they better?
Simple. They force you to spend what you have.
No borrowing.
Right? Your own money. It's like built-in responsibility.
Keeps you from going overboard.
It's a reality check. Makes you think, where's my money going?
Makes sense. Keeps you grounded.
Doesn't solve all your problems. You still need a budget, track spending.
Of course.
But no interest charges, no debt spiral. That's huge.
So it's a step in the right direction.
It's about making choices that work for you, your goals.
Right. And I mean, credit cards do have some advantages. We can't deny that.
For sure. They do. We're not saying throw them all away.
Right.
They can be useful, but you got to be smart about it.
Know the downsides.
Don't fall for the hype. All those rewards programs, they make it tempting.
They do. Man, this has been eye-opening. Never thought about it like this.
That's the thing about knowledge, you know. Once you see how it all works,
Yeah.
you can make better choices, avoid those traps.
Absolutely. Okay, before we finish, I want to leave you with something to think about.
Oh, yeah?
This book, Seduction by Contract, it asks a really interesting question.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you really knew the cost of credit cards, all the fees, the interest, the whole mind game, would you still choose them over debit cards or cash?
It really makes you think, like, what are our priorities, you know?
It does. And honestly, after all this, I'm leaning towards debit cards myself.
Yeah, it's about finding what works for you, your situation.
Right.
The point is, be informed, make choices on purpose, not just out of habit or whatever.
Totally agree. So, to sum up our credit card deep dive today, we've looked at how they work,
All those hidden costs.
the psychology they use, that story from India. Wow.
Yeah, and those biases we talked about. Short-sightedness, optimism bias. Remember, knowing is half the battle.
Right. Once you see those patterns.
You can break free.
Exactly. And we talked about debit cards too, maybe a better way to go.
Keeps you honest with your spending.
Down.
At the end of the day, it's about balance, right? Maybe you use both, credit and debit, or stick to cash.
Yeah, whatever works.
Just be mindful. Spend with intention.
So as we wrap up, I want to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
What do you prefer to use? Credit, debit, cash? Any crazy credit card stories? Good or bad? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, let's keep this going.
Learn from each other, get better with our money.
Absolutely.
All right, that's it for this deep dive. See you next time. Remember, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to your finances.